Okay, take a second and just think about the sheer, mind-boggling wonder of the living world. I mean, we find life in the absolute most punishing habitats imaginable, from the freezing peaks of isolated mountains to, bubbling toxic hot springs. The silent glide of a shark, the crazy complex biology of a simple mushroom, it really evokes a deep sense of awe. But as we look at this giant, chaotic web of life, a massive question pops up. Just how many different kinds of organisms actually share this rock with us? Right now, the number of species that are actually known and officially described sits somewhere between 1.7 and 1.8 million. Think about that for a second. That is a staggering figure representing Earth's known biodiversity. But here's the truly exciting part. That number is literally just a snapshot. As we explore new areas and even look closer at the old ones, new organisms are continuously being discovered and identified. We are definitely not finished cataloging life on Earth. Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're tackling a massive task, figuring out how humanity takes that overwhelming chaos of 1.8 million known living things and categorizes it into a beautiful, organized system. We're going to talk about the history, the strict rules, and the brilliant science of identifying and naming every single life form on Earth. Okay, let's dive right into this. Here is our agenda for today. We'll cover 1. Earth's amazing diversity. 2. The maiming problem. 3. The binomial system. 4. The science of taxonomy. And finally, 5. The taxonomic hierarchy. Let's get started. Section 1. Earth's amazing diversity. The scope of life. Early on in our history, classifying life was purely practical. It was just based on what we could use for food or clothing or shelter. But as biological knowledge expanded, we desperately needed a real systematic way to describe things. Which leads perfectly into Section 2, the naming problem, a global Tower of Babel. Imagine trying to study an animal, but you only know its local name. A puma, a cougar, and a mountain lion are all the exact same cat. But depending on where you stand in the US, the name totally changes. You can see the massive confusion this creates for scientists worldwide. So how do we fix it? Well, biologists realized there was a critical need to move from variable local names to standardized scientific ones. Enter nomenclature. It's basically a guarantee that a particular organism is known by the exact same name everywhere. To pull this off, scientists established rigorous international procedures. For plants, there's the International Code for Botanical Nomenclature, or ICBN. For animals, they use the ICZN. The ultimate goal here? Guaranteeing every organism has exactly one internationally recognized name, ensuring no two known organisms ever shared the same title. And that brings us to Section 3, the binomial system, Carolus Linnaeus' solution. Biologists universally agreed on this brilliant, incredibly simple naming framework proposed by Carolus Linnaeus, called binomial nomenclature. It's just a two-word format, and it totally revolutionized biology. Now, a universal system requires some very strict rules, right? First off, biological names are generally Latinized. Every single scientific name has two components: the genus, which always starts with a capital letter, followed by the specific epithet, or species, in lowercase. And the formatting is absolutely crucial. To visually show those Latin roots, both words must be italicized in print or separately underlined if you're handwriting them out. And this brilliantly illustrates the point. Let's look at the mango, Mangifera indica Linn. Mangifera is the genus, so it's capitalized. Indica is the species, completely lowercased. But what about that Linn tacked onto the end? That actually stands for Carolus Linnaeus. The author who first officially describes the species gets their name abbreviated right at the end, so Linnaeus gets the credit for the mango. All right, moving to Section 4, the science of taxonomy, grouping the living world. Since it's literally impossible to study millions of living things one by one, we have to group them into convenient categories. This is classification. And modern taxonomy doesn't just look at the outside of an animal. It looks at internal structure, cell biology, developmental processes, you name it. When we talk about understanding species, we absolutely have to talk about Ernst Mayr. Born in 1904, he had a monumental, nearly 80-year career as an evolutionary biologist, mostly at Harvard. His work spanned everything from ornithology to the philosophy of biology. He was so incredibly influential that he won what's widely considered the Triple Crown of biology: the Balzan, the International Prize for Biology, and the Crawford Prize. So, the crucial point is why Mayer's remembered as the Darwin of the 20th century. It's because he almost single-handedly made the origin of species diversity the central question of modern evolutionary biology. Actually, he even pioneered the definition of a biological species that we still use today.
He helped us truly map out the vertical and horizontal relationships between all living things.
Thanks to pioneers like Mayer and Linnaeus, we have a proper system for grouping life. Now, the scientific term for these convenient categories we use is taxa, or taxon for singular. A taxon is basically just a distinct biological entity at any level. For example, plants form a taxon. Mammals form a taxon. Even dogs represent a taxon. But obviously, dogs are mammals, meaning these taxa operate at very different scales.
Let's move to and see how this builds in Section 5, the taxonomic hierarchy zooming out. This classification is a literal hierarchy of steps, where each rank is a taxon. We start at the bottom with the most specific similarities, and we zoom out step by step until we capture all of life.
Let's look at the first 3 steps using the tiger. Step 1 is the species, like Panthera tigris. Step 2 is the genus, which lumps closely related species together. So the tiger joins the lion and the leopard inside the genus Panthera. Then, step 3 is the family. The Panthera genus links up with the Felis genus, which includes your everyday house cats, to form the family Felidae.
As we continue to zoom out, the shared characteristics start to decrease. In step 4, the cat family, Felidae, joins the dog family to form the order Carnivora. In step 5, those carnivores join up with primates to make the class Mammalia. And step 6, mammals group with fish, amphibians, reptiles, and birds because they all share a dorsal neural system, making up the phylum Chordata. So yes, technically, you share a major taxonomic rank with the sea squirt. Finally, everything funnels into the biggest category of them all, the kingdom. Now, what's really interesting about this is seeing it all laid out. Just look at the exact structured classifications for wildly different things: man, housefly, mango, and wheat. You can take our name, Homo sapiens, and trace our specific genus, family, order, class, and phylum right alongside a common housefly. It's like a giant puzzle. Lower taxa share tons of characteristics, while higher categories are incredibly broad, but it all connects beautifully. We started out noting how humbling it is to realize that all present-day organisms are connected. We currently know of about 1.8 million species, but as we keep exploring deep oceans and dense forests, new organisms are being identified every single day. The systematic rules of taxonomy are just waiting to categorize them. So I'll leave you with this thought. With potentially millions of species left to discover, what unknown taxa are waiting out there right now to surprise, awe, and humble us next? Keep exploring, and thanks for joining this explainer.